first, maybe about the kind of continuity that you can see between this work and your previous one, which was called Eventide, from 2022, which was shot in a different location, but was a shoreline at night with distant human figures. Was that something that you were conscious about or wanting to expand? Or
Yeah, actually, Eventide was shot on another island, Gotland in Sweden. Yeah, it was the first time I had ever had figures appearing smaller in the frame. But I think this film really took it to another level of scale. But like that film and this film and many of the other films I've made, I've always been interested in the elements and, shifts of light or meteor showers, tides ebbing and flowing. So yeah, so I see those as like a continuing element. But there was, when I made Eventide, for me, it was very much about looking at the future and what that might hold. And it was very dark times, a little bit like today. I made it while Trump was in office, and then things lifted, and this film was made in the last 4 years, and now he's back. But so what was I saying? So that film is so much about a darkness and a searching, and this film really, I was thinking, and that was about a kind of invisibleness, that film too, and then that we can't see what they're seeing as they're searching. And in this film, I was interested in how wind as an element is something we can't see unless we're seeing how something is reacting to it. So,
could you talk a little bit about how you arrived on this island, Fogo?
And before COVID, I was invited to a residency on Fogo Island called Fogo Island Arts. And it was postponed because of COVID. And then when I finally went, I stayed for 3 months, and I was only intending originally to go for 2 weeks, 3 weeks. And it was such an amazing experience because I had never encountered a landscape like that. There's really no trees, and normally if there's no trees, I feel kind of claustrophobic coming from Maine. And I was surprised that, because the rock formations, everything is so intense there, but I never had that feeling of a claustrophobia because the wind was always so present, and it really it really determines everyone's life and movements and work. But so I did that residency, and it wasn't until the very end that I had the idea to make the film with the children. And of course, I didn't finish, and it took 3 more summers. So so we just finished. Yeah, but it was an amazing residency. I mean, it was really like a great opportunity.
Can you talk about how you met the children or cast the children? And I was just mentioning, that's what I said in the introduction, that there is a famous documentary work that was made in Fogo called the Fogo Process, which documentary was used as a tool to social development. That was called Fogo Process, and one of the most famous film at the time was made by Colin Lowe, and it was called The Children of Fogo Island. From 1967, I think. Was that something that you had in mind or wanted to respond to?
Yeah, when I was researching going there, that was one of the films I went to, and the Canadian Film Board made so many amazing documentaries. But his film really changed things. I mean, they were, in the midst of resettlement, and because of these films and his outreach in the communities and bringing them together, they formed the co-op, the fish co-op, and are still there fishing. So, but the children of Fogo was just, yeah, I mean, he's like, it's documentary, and it has, the folk music over it, but it was really inspiring, this like ruggedness and the, children out in nature without not being controlled by any parents. Basically, you're doing your thing and you're testing your limits, and yeah.
So your collaboration with them was not about control?
The kids? Oh,
yeah.
well, no, I mean, the children there were amazing. They're just so curious, and yeah, there's this, they embody the landscape. But I mean, everything, if you know my films, is very like highly composed and timed and structured. So there's quite a bit of, I mean, they're having a great time, but yeah, there's a lot of directing, which is really hard when there's so much wind, and like we had like 60-pound sandbags, it was kind of crazy.
Sandbags for the
like
camera?
to hold the tripod down. Yeah.
That's heavy.
Yeah. The last summer we finally realized, we could hire a fisherman to take us to the locations instead of lugging all the equipment in. So that was good. And ATVs. Yeah.
How did you decide on the actions? Was that something that the kids would bring, or like there's also a scene involving painting, and I was wondering if you had like pictorial, iconographic references, maybe about that.
Well, getting to know the kids and really observing them in the landscape was like the core of it. And then getting to know who they were. The painter, Elizabeth, she was very much a loner, and not a loner, but yeah, introverted. And yeah, I mean, the whole film, there's all of these kind of painting references throughout it. So I thought it was really nice to have her making a painting of what we're looking at. So, yeah.
What kind of references? Like, do you want to
God,
mention?
I knew you were going to ask that. If I could only remember. I mean, I was definitely thinking about Bruegel and a lot of, landscapes with, very small figures in them. Yeah.
Maybe someone would like to ask a question. There's a microphone there. You just have to raise your hand and it would be brought to you. Just here.
Hi. First of all, really stunning film. It was a really beautiful watch, so thank you for making it. I was just wondering, are there any filmmakers or movies that served as inspiration for you while making this film? And it's okay if there aren't, but I was just wondering if there might be.
Yeah, I mean, so many films. Is it Kiarostami to My Friend's House? Kiarostami to My Friend's House. His films, I think, are just really special. But the scene of the two girls through the grass going up to get her friend and coming back. I mean, I think that's, for me, that's kind of a direct reference to his films. Now I'm trying to remember. I mean, a lot of times I am looking at other art and painting too. I think that's like a really big part of making films for me. The Kiarostami's so good. I mean, so good.
And the element of wind in Kiarostami is very important.
Yeah. And it was great when we watched the process films. The kids had never seen them. Because they were made in like 1968, and it looks like it's the Great Depression. I mean, I thought that the children in that film were all gone, and they were only like 10 years older than me, and some of them were still alive and kicking on the island. But it was great to meet them and then to show the kids that film that they hadn't seen, and then go and talk to let's call them elders, the original children of Fogo Island with the kids and talk about what it was like for them being children on the island and how much it's changed. I mean, with everything getting warmer and warmer, like they used to do this thing called copping, which is during pack ice season. They also have 7 seasons, not 4, but they would jump from one pack ice to another. And that is like so dangerous. You fall, like some would drown. A lot of them can't swim either because they're fishermen, and you just, the ocean is not about recreation. So it was interesting, but yeah, their lives as children were so much more dangerous than the kinds of things they would do in nature. And those things are disappearing now because there's less and less of it. But yeah, the wind is pretty powerful. There's nothing stopping it from coming into the island.
Did you decide
Wait for the microphone because it needs to be recorded. Yeah. Sorry.
Thank you. Did you decide first on the location and then the action that would take place with the kids, or did you have an idea of what the kids should be doing and then find a location that would work for their play?
I mean, really, everything started with, the knowledge of knowing them and kind of what they do or how they move in the landscape. But it was so much about composition that it was always location scouting. And that was probably the most difficult. I mean, some of these places were like hiking. I mean, my fabulous team can tell you it was exhausting because we would have to, hike in a good hour to some of the locations. And so it always started off with the image, making an image. And it was great because they really understood the frame, like all of my people that I film. They know what's in, they know what's out. So by the end of 4 summers, they were like, okay, cut, or they'd be in a shot and they'd say, you're out of frame, get back in the frame. So, yeah.
Could you talk? Could you talk a little bit about the structure of the film? I don't know how many shots there is, like 12, maybe.
Yeah.
Does that correspond to anything? And,
Well, I mean, I was in the beginning thinking, about a day and 12 hours in a day, and there's 12 shots, but it doesn't really follow, the beginning of a day to the end, but it alludes to that, I think. But I wanted the film to, move inland in the center and go back out and with the open sea. But no, it was really my editor and her great skills of coming up with which shots to cut. There were many, many, many shots to cut.
how many shots?
I'd say, for me, we shot so much, but before it even came to the editing room, it was cut down to probably 16, I think.
There's a question here.
I'm curious about how, if at all, you sort of taxonomize or genreify your works, and if you would consider them to be documentary at all, or I think maybe not narrative, but because everything is so composed, but at the same time, it doesn't feel quite like it feels like it's what we're looking at is real life. It doesn't feel like staged or abstract or anything like that. And what world or taxonomy you consider your films to inhabit?
Mm-hmm. Well, they kind of float, and they're not documentary, like you said, but they are saying something about the people that are in them that is real. yeah, I mean, I guess non-narrative, experimental filmmaker. Experimental always feels strange to me to say, but I guess, is that what I am?
You could say cinema.
Cinema. Yeah, okay. Experimental cinema.
There's one question there. In France, we would say cinema of the real. Something
Cinema of the real.
of the real.
That's good. Cinema of the real. It's so nice to be back here with you.
Thank you so much for coming. So talking about the experimental nature of this film, I was wondering, like, do you have an expectation of how the audience will feel about your film, or how they will just experience the film? Like, do you have a expectation, like, after you finish?
I think all of my films, you know, they're pretty slow. I mean, I think this film, for me, there's a physicalness when I'm watching it that makes me like think of my body in the landscape and in these elements. So I guess maybe that you're thinking about that, and as you move out of a cinema into this, like, you know, sound-proofed room. I mean, it's so very different than being outside. Yeah, I mean, I think listening is, when you leave a cinema after listening to something, is a big part of what I hope people get out of it, and looking. Yeah.
Well, we have to leave it there, but thank you so much, Sharon, and
Thank you.
thank you for your questions.